Brian Bonilla, we are back with another episode number 6. How the heck are you doing today, sir?
Good, man. It's a Sunday afternoon.
We do this.
This is not our day jobs.
No.
It's not.
None of breaking and entering is a day thing. So that's how you break in. You create something on the weekends, maybe.
You're almost like Batman, like at night, there's a whole different person, one podcast at a time,
We love it. Little tired, but feeling good. We just spent the past hour talking about the rap world, what's happening in culture.
Yeah.
High level. What's your high level? Should we just switch gears, Brian? I know we have a format, but
Yeah, this is no longer an advertising podcast. It's a rap battle podcast. It just, the Kendrick-Drake beef, it's insane. I think, are there marketing lessons to take from that? I'll leave it for LinkedIn to decide.
There probably will be. I see. Is that Kendrick album cover art in the background there?
It is. I am a Drake fan, despite there not being any.
Wow, you got two Kendrick
Yeah.
cover art. You got a J. Cole. I don't see a Drake. So
Look, I don't think he has classic albums though, but I love his music. This has been an interesting beef to watch. So far,
that's gonna get clipped. You're gonna clipped. That's going viral. Brian. Yeah. It's interesting though. Good music, right?
What people come to us for is the rap, information, right?
Yeah. That's a new segment loading up.
Yeah.
And what are we going to talk about today, Brian? So it's been 2 weeks. I know you guys had a fun gala at Ad Age, celebrate all the winners from that A-list. I'll be there next year with Havas. And
gotta manifest.
Yeah, gotta manifest it. How was that? Any other big things go on in the past 2 weeks in your life?
Yeah, no, I think that's, that was the big one. It takes a lot of work to get the gala going, and I believe we have like 750 guests or some crazy.
Where was it at?
Cipriani. I don't know if I ever say that right. So
I was just there. I don't think the big one though. It was like a smaller. I think there's a couple of them.
Yeah, it was the one on Wall Street, by Wall Street.
Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah, it was fun. Look, everyone, it's the winners of our A-list awards and the winners of our creativity awards. They find out that night, and I know it's like for some people it's tough, because they don't get the win, but to even be on the final list, because our creativity awards are judged by our peers, like are their peers. So like
right.
The creatives, other executives in the industry, and they're saying these are the best of the best, so even if to be nominated, I think it raises your profile.
What was there like ad of the year, like on the creativity awards, like ad person of the year?
Yeah, it'd be like, account person of the year, creative of the year, strategist of the year, things like that.
There's like individual people awards, and then there's also like individual ad or campaign wins.
Right. And I think, like as if you're aspiring for a certain position in the industry, like I think it's a great list to look at.
Yeah. Study them, copy them.
Right.
It doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have some on there. Maybe we can have some, like a little.
Who is that list out?
It is out. Check it out right now.
Who won like creative person of the year?
It was so Greg Hahn took the top award, and this was very I think Mischief's year. They won a few awards. It wasn't just Greg. They had a few winners there. So it was just a year, and like I said, I think
makes sense if you're the creative agency or number one on the list. You could probably assume the creative of the year probably works.
It doesn't always happen, but
no,
it's like like I said, the creative agency of the year and that is decided as I think by them as well. But I'm saying like the top 10 lists, like us, right?
That's you guys. So the journalists do the top 10 A list, right? But then the creativity awards, the individual awards, the campaign, that's by peers, that's by industry professionals.
Not like, our inputs in there. So the fact that it did happen that way, I think it shows there is a feeling in the industry that is the agency.
in sports, there's like like there's like coaches pick for like I'm
Yeah.
thinking about NCAA. It's like the coaches pick, the media pick. So
Yeah.
it's kind of similar, like in that breakdown, if you think about it. Any other big ad of the year? Like, is that one top of mind? Or like any other ones that you want to shout out, like that were fun? Any good speeches?
I think the
Anybody
fun
make any funny
one,
joke?
well, we did like a haiku. So last year, we got the feedback was it was a long gala the year before. So we decided to ask everyone to do a haiku for their speech rather than have everyone, spend 5 minutes, thanking everyone,
Yeah,
you know,
that adds up.
and I think it worked because I think like it showed these are competitive people. These are creatives. So like, who was the most creative in terms of a haiku perspective? Like, I think that was
Which
kind of
one
fun.
stood out?
I think Known had a fun one where they said everyone in the room, if they got their money together, could buy TikTok. I thought that was a funny thing. I think some people went sarcastic. Some people went like just super thankful for the award. And, not everyone followed it. It's okay. One person went up, so like, I thought that was a joke. I didn't know you actually wanted a haiku, but then they actually did a haiku. So it's like, they were haiku on the spot, kind of, which is cool. And then the last thing I'll say, and then we'll get into it, but like, why did brought Grimace, like someone was in a Grimace suit as they accepted their awards. So I thought that was fun.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I'm glad you had fun, and now it's back to work.
Yeah.
Like,
serious.
yeah, serious stuff here. What do we get? We're shaking it up a little bit, Brian. I think
Yeah.
we're not. I know we have headline of the week, rapid fire, and then we close out with some sort of subject matter. But I think we're gonna go right into the subject matter and lead it off with that big headline, and we'll kind of debate, talk. It's Sunday. We're doing our best as we can, right, Brian?
Yeah. And like, look, I think we'll do this once in a while where like there is a big story where we both have expertise on different ends of the spectrum. So like, let's just talk about it, right? And I think sometimes we'll cover a whole bunch of stories, but I think this is a topic that's worth just kind of debate. Yeah,
Yeah. So let's talk about it. What's the headline, Brian? Let's get some context to our listeners.
Yeah. So, the story that my new colleague, Ewan Larkin, shout out to Ewan, who just joined us on the agency beat, wrote, and me and Lindsay Rittenhouse assisted on.
Ewan. Is this his first article?
It's not his first, but I think his first like featured type article.
Yeah, it's on the front page here.
Yeah, it's the headline is "Agency is the ad industry's latest dirty word. Why creative shops are relabeling." And this was a topic, I think in the newsroom that I was having with my editors, and we were all having on like, we're seeing all these agencies pop up, but we're also seeing like people trying to label themselves as consultancies, as creative transformation companies, and different words, right? And like,
branding of the agency is changing. They're relabeling, restructuring. So the headline is "Agency is the ad industry's latest dirty word. Why creative shops are relabeling."
Yeah. And it's like, I think, within the industry, there's always like, I think it becomes a joke where like, oh, you want to, like, it's like a running joke where like people try to reframe how they label themselves. But we were like, well, maybe that is instead of like taking it as a joke, like, why is this happening? And is there some merit to it? Right?
No, it's super important from a talent acquisition standpoint, from new business standpoint. How do they drive revenue? Like, what's the strategy? So you guys unveiled that, took out some key learnings, some examples. So why, my question to you is like, why are they doing this? Like, did you get some actual facts and some POVs of different takes of why they're doing that?
Yeah, lots of POVs of it, like as always is the case in the industry. I mean, like I said, this started from, it's not a brand new idea of like, should we be a consultancy or an agency? I think the overarching feeling from a lot of executives was you can label yourself whatever you want, but if you act like as an agency, you're still an agency.
Right.
And we had Steve Stout, the CEO of Translation, basically talk about how like, he wants Translation to be considered more than an agency because he feels like the word agency has a loss of some validity, that he thinks there's a lot of like mediocre agencies that have tarnished the category. So if you feel that way as a company, I guess I could see that point of view of like, well, I don't want to be considered in this group of companies. I want to be considered something else. But then there's other companies that want to be known as agency because it's clear, right? So I had one agency, even a source that didn't make it, I think, into the article, but they were saying like it confuses the client when you try to label yourself as kind of a jack of all trades or this like company who's kind of big. And, I had one consultant tell me like they, set up not me, but like our team, like they had a meeting with an agency that labeled themselves one way, and it turned out they didn't even do the capabilities that they were selling.
It's an issue for clients. It's an issue for our listeners.
Right.
Because it's confusing. And I tell them, I've just always said, you want to break into a creative agency, most likely, if you're listening to this. And like, that's a good route to go. You go an agency, media, there's PR, but they know agency, right? We're working with multiple clients from a very fundamental standpoint. That's what I've been teaching and explaining for the past 4 years. So now that's the terms are changing, and now it's causing confusion. I'm confused. Students are confused. Clients are probably confused. So maybe we have to solve this, Brian, on this episode. Like, what we're going to create the industry standard, perhaps.
Well, I mean, like, I think some people have merit, right? Like in calling themselves a consultancy. Like there was this Brooklyn agency, Madwell, who they have so many verticals. They do licensing, they create products, they do all these things, right? They have a record label within their company. They have all these different verticals and ways of working that I guess, is there some sort of like feeling like, I don't know if you've like, if this happens at Havas, but like, can there become this feeling when you do so many things, like, but then people focus on the 30-second ads that you make, like, does that become an issue, internally, I don't know if that, like, maybe that's not an issue for Havas, but I'm curious.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I've always just gone, agency could do it all. It just has been ingrained that an agency can do strategy. It could do like that consulting work. But the thing to me is an agency can create and execute and place. And that's what I've always grown up in my education, is that it's not just the consulting work. It can also execute on the beautiful creative assets. And that could be pulling in vendors potentially, or freelancers, of course. But usually an agency should be able to do everything in that one facility. To me, it's like, Brian, I have Jack Westerkamp, who's on our team, who works at Protivity, which is consulting, Boston Consulting Group. Deloitte probably has consulting. Like, how do we clearly define the difference between like that consulting and then like creative consulting that we're talking about? Like, I don't even know what the difference is. That kind of like that line needs to be clearly drawn too.
Well, and some people told us like, even though they relabel themselves, like it didn't change how they build their services. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like, if you're confused as someone breaking into the industry, like I wouldn't get so focused on the words and the terminologies. Try to look at like, how are they billing, right? Because and look, it's not like everyone's saying it right up front, right? But like, I think that changes in my mind, like how I perceive your company. Like, how are you charging for your services? What types of services are you charging more for, less for, whatever? And
the work too. It's like, what's the actual work that you're touting, like on your website, on your socials? But then again, like some of this consulting work is not like performative in a way that they would showcase. Like, so,
and I think it's part of a growing industry problem where like, I did a story that in the past 2 weeks too, like where Ogilvy, they just hired a chief transformation officer, like a brand new role. And the idea is to bring Ogilvy Consulting a bigger part, like as more involved in the overall ecosystem within Ogilvy, right? And, in that story, they tell me that like clients just aren't coming to agencies for the big problem solving issues. They're looking to agencies for execution. And if Ogilvy is telling me that as one of the biggest agencies in the world, then it's probably an issue that other smaller agencies and whatever are facing too. So I understand the need to like try to differentiate,
But as long as they can like walk the talk that they're showcasing and their billing and their credibility is that they're touting, instead of just putting the label on.
Right.
That's important.
Well, I think XNO was a good example, I thought. We had them on your podcast. I actually wrote a story about them too this week. Do you want to talk about them just a little bit?
I interviewed Brett and Eric a couple months ago, and the episode posted a couple weeks ago. I did not do my research, Brian. I got on that call. I record after work, so like 5:30 Central Time. And these guys hopped on. I was like, so tell me about your agency. And they go, you said the word. Like right when we started recording. If you listen to that episode, they're like, they weren't mad. They're just messing with me. I was like, oh crap. I gotta bounce back. I wasn't educated on this service that they're offering, which is like this consulting similar model that was brand new to me. And maybe there's other agencies that do it, but it's new to me the first time on the episode that these two guys are basically the quarterbacks of this consulting firm that have on a bench of people that they call experts, X and O, experts and officers, I think is like what that stems from. And those people are undisclosed. I'm assuming at a freelance capability where they will go directly to like brands, marketing officers, CMOs. They'll figure out what their problem is, and then they'll utilize their team of experts that are hidden and tackle those solutions or those problems and create solutions and frameworks from there. So did I do a good job, guys? If you're listening, my bad. I got a million things on my mind all the time, and I don't know stuff. How did I do, Brian?
I think that's good. Look, I think it was smart of you to have them on, I thought. And, when I did the story as well on them, and, the motto, like you said, like it's working with like freelance, the executives that are freelance. So like these are former CMOs, these are former CCOs.
Yeah. And the brand side too, they're on too. That's
and
so they say, right.
And we don't know. And these are people that the brand doesn't always know who's working on the on the business through XNO. And we've worked with like I thought the best example was Minute Maid. I don't know if you saw that John Hamm spot. Where John Hamm was selling Minute Maid, and I thought it was interesting because they told me, and Coca-Cola did credit them as supporting on that campaign. So Ogilvy and WPP OpenX, and so the that holding company model, which services Coca-Cola, did most of the work on the ad, did all the ad stuff, like they created the final tagline and all that, right? But XNO, they were, tapped to like kind of create the original platform or like idea, right?
Right.
And then the WPP took that, OpenX took that, and then made their own,
executed off of it.
Yeah, but they took the idea and then created their own tagline. So it's still OpenX's idea, but like the original,
the strategy, the creative strategy, the brief that was disseminated down to the copywriters and art directors, essentially took that and ran.
Right. And what's interesting is like this model is like they're charging like, all right, you want 3 ideas in a week. Here's how much it is. Here's a set price, like that's what I'm saying. Like, this is different, than, just calling yourself a consultancy. And they wouldn't even call themselves a consultancy, which makes it, I'm like, well, what do you want us to call you? But they think it's like a mix between consultancy and agency, which I could see that, but that matters, right? Like, how are you charging for your services? And they're sprinting to ideas. These are quick ideas.
Yeah.
Level ideas.
But they're high level and they're strong because they have the experts.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
No, and it comes at a time where like agencies themselves are trying to revamp, like I did a story this week too on like Bonilla West, like changing some leadership. And part of the reason for that change was they want to become more modern and, emphasize some of their social capabilities, emphasize some, digital capabilities, experiential, things like that. And, you're just seeing, I think on the both sides of the spectrum, traditional, more legacy agencies adapting, trying to evolve. And then you're seeing these new X&O type companies trying to change the model completely,
I have an idea.
Yeah.
This is my agency consultancy idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty similar to that. So if anybody's listening is like, oh, I like this. It's based off the idea that brands have all the research, right? They know, like, these legacy brands, big brands, they know their target audience, they know their products super well. So the idea is to create a purely creative, quick hitting powerhouse entity called No Research. No research. So if X&O is doing all that like strategy work based off of the brand's research that they already have, they create that. Then Geno and No Research comes in and just crafts an amazing creative execution.
Right. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Uh-oh.
Well, I think
what did we just do here, Brian?
I think clients, to your point, like they want quick ideas that work. And it's so funny, right? Because for
just
years,
creative, we would call it.
That's good too. It's funny because for years, like clients have been saying, we want our agency to do everything. We want our agency to do performance, right? Have data capabilities and all that. But then you're seeing, clients that don't want that anymore. They want just like an idea, a big idea and creative platform, and that's it, So I kind of feel for agencies right now because I think there is, what's called like I think agencies are self-conscious. They're kind of feeling down a bit on, their services, and why you're seeing some people relabel themselves.
Yeah. Insecure. I don't know. Maybe. If there are those just purely creative, like, is there just like the purely creative agency still? To me, it's like all these holding companies are acquiring consulting and digital, and they're combining, and they're probably due for a relabel of how they kind of market themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think they are doing that. But then how many are there like purely creative agencies out there anymore?
Yeah.
Like, that's something we don't hear a lot about.
Well, if you were to start, like, to your point, like, we should do an episode where we like start our own, like, try to create an agency in one episode, like start a company and like a mock company, and what type of services would we add.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this just creative would be interesting.
I think that's where I would go. Like sprint. I think sprints are great. I think, agencies like Goodbee has their brand camp, which does really well for them.
We have Spark sessions at Havas Chicago.
There you go.
That are one day, like, we put all of our creatives on for one day and it works really well. Like, that I hope I can talk about that. I mean, I am the PR person, so I approve it. And it's working.
Yeah.
All right.
So
yeah, man. Boom. But yeah, I think if we were to create something, that's what I would propose. It's like no research, just creative, whatever you want to call it. We just come in when your brand knows everything. You have all the research, and then maybe an X&O or a strategy consulting writes the brief, and then we just come in real quick. We're going to get the can-winning creatives, Buchin, whoever.
Yeah, and I think you're, in that model, like it probably wouldn't grow too big, right? And I think we're seeing agencies like, we talked about, Kendra's new agency was kind of, they'll see where they don't want to. Yeah.
I've had to re-record that intro like 5 times. It's not. I haven't posted it yet, but it's
like that's like she doesn't want to grow too big, right? And that's kind of the idea of Flower Shop, another agency.
yeah. Is Elizabeth Hess reaching out to you?
Well,
She's
she's gonna,
good.
yeah.
She's good.
But yeah, like I think in that model, I wouldn't want to grow it too big, you know.
No,
And,
why? We should
um,
grow huge.
well, well, I just think it gets confusing, right? I mean, I'm thinking about me personally. I wouldn't want that, like,
Every creative in the industry is a part of Just Creative, and they
yeah,
get a lot of money, and they don't have. It's like a community,
yeah, a collective.
a
It's-
collective.
We should. Oh my god, we should do an episode on all the buzzwords that are in the industry.
I
Jesus,
know.
'cause I think we use them now.
Yeah.
A collective, yeah,
I don't know what students want. I don't know what's best for students. I think they need to I think going back to them, it's like just figure out, do you want to be an art director? Do you want to be a copywriter? Do you want to be account management? Do you want to be in new business? Do you want to be in production? Do you want to be in finance? Like identify the key roles because the roles themselves I don't think are changing too much.
mm,
Maybe they are. Maybe there's like a TikTok, there's content creation.
yeah.
Of course, those emerging. Maybe there's AI roles that are going to be emerging. Identify your niche and then get really good at that. All of this stuff that's changing high level, you can't control that. You can maybe change and create your own thing, great, but it first starts off with identifying what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and then proving to people wherever that might be that you can do that job at a high level. I think like just to mitigate the stress from everybody, you can't control all these trends, but you can control your effort and how you execute in your specific path. Would you
What?
agree?
Yeah, and as I'm hearing you break it down, like maybe I think in the past it's always been like follow what the agency's doing, but maybe it's more now like follow what the people are doing because to your point, identify the roles that you like, but also, more and more under these new models and new companies, like I think it matters more who are the executives that are leading these companies and like beyond that, like who are the people within the company. You look at our creativity awards, right? Like those are careers, these are that you can model after rather than like trying to go for that one agency, that you've always wanted to work for,
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, I think that so once you know your what specific like skill set is and what role you would be good at in the highest level possible, copywriting, art direction potentially. Um and then you can start identifying like people and the models after that and then apply to those different like companies or you go that's why we have breaking entering, Brian. You listen to their episode and you say, "Hey, I listened to Geno's episode and Brian's episode where you were interviewed. I love your model. Uh, I'm a copywriter. I want to do it with you."
right. Yeah. And just as a little tease, we're going to try to bring on some guests here to talk about some interesting models,
Yeah.
moving forward.
Unless we start scaling Just Creative.
I mean, that could just change. We could just do that, man. I think we should really like, there should be a cool episode. Like we sit down and just try to create an agency, in 30 minutes or an hour. And just,
Great, like, and use every buzzword.
yeah. 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 Get a tagline, get a,
And then we can get on like a C-suite of a whole like we fake it. We're like, "Hey, we want to interview you," and then we pitch them our creative
yeah.
agency plan. Like they don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're
I,
like, and then we get the live reaction. We post it.
no, I like that. Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
I hope people are listening because you might get a call.
But look, I think it was just an important topic for us to talk about, because the industry, it's weird, right? The industry is slow to change in a lot of ways, but then there'll be a few years where just like, there's a lot of change quickly,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Do you still like covering it? Like it's got to be pretty interesting. Like if you don't want it to remain the same, right? It gets a little boring. So this is probably pretty interesting on your side of things.
yeah, I love it. And I think there's a lot of areas that, I want to highlight and shout out to you and again for doing that story. Cause I think we're going to put out some more stories that people are going to really be interested in. And I'd love to have him on our podcast at some point. But yeah, like, it's great to cover this. I think the key with this industry is not to get too jaded, not to, let it bog you down, right? Because I'm sure you get this too. Like, it can feel like a cycle, right? New account win, new account loss,
new agency pops up,
executive move, new agency, right? You gotta keep your mindset like as objective as possible, but also like stay interested, in this industry,
That's a good point. You're teaching me how to be a good journalist.
Hey, if you ever want to switch,
we're blur. I mean, I'm blurring the lines like crazy all the time. But I got to give some love to Havas. Like, they support me. Like, they can easily say, you are literally promoting other agencies when your job is to grow Havas Chicago. And they support me, and I think it comes down to the mission of helping students. Like, everybody's buying into that. That's why we're able to get you and like all these amazing guests. It comes back to, we're helping students get a job, a career that we come up with ideas for. Like,
yeah,
it's awesome. Like, even if it changes the names and people are confused, at the end of the day, you're getting paid to come up with creative ideas in some way, shape, or form. Even if you're an account executive, assistant account executive, you are creative. You are innately creative. They hired you because you understand we're coming up with business solutions that are fun, that are different. Because as long as we have that mindset, we will continue to have this industry.
Right. No, for sure. But yeah, I think that kind of covers the whole what we were going to talk about. But like,
yeah, man.
Final thoughts you have or anything? Like,
no, I think I did my tangents. I think we're good. Any big things coming up? So we're gonna create our agency. We're gonna do a fake pitch. Anything else coming up in the burner? We'll have you on in another 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think look out for our Smart Agency Awards. That deadline closed, so we'll be judging that.
That's in Boston.
Maybe you can come down, and like check out some of the agencies. We can do an episode or something. We'll see.
Ooh,
works.
You get a lobster roll, cold.
Yeah,
there's cold or hot, and I think the cold is the way to go.
Well, there's cold. I was actually at Burger. You ever been to Burger and Lobster in New York? That was there yesterday, and they have two it's a Gordon Ramsay owned restaurant, and they had two lobster rolls. They had the OG cold one, and then they had the warm one, which was Connecticut. It was a Connecticut lobster roll.
Okay, I was gonna guess. I forgot what how'd you like it?
No, I like it both ways, but I didn't realize that. Yeah, it was the you have
to pick one, Brian. You have to pick one. Which one did you like better?
I like the cold. I like the OG.
And you think Kendrick is winning?
Kendrick's winning right now.
As we record on Sunday, May 5th at 12:56 p.m. Central Time. But there could be a new diss track.
He might have dropped one while we've been recording this, so who knows? Like, but no, man. Look, I think this was just a big topic, and I just wanted to kind of debate high level with you, man. Just talk about it, because I don't know. This industry is constantly changing, and I think it's interesting. But
we love it. That's why we recorded on a Sunday.
Yeah. But yeah, man, Kendrick's winning. Do you think Kendrick's winning? I don't know what you think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just like the music that they're putting out. I don't know anything else. I just like the sounds that I hear in my ears, which is going away. I think I listen to music too loud. I can't hear, which is not good for a podcaster to not be able to hear.
Kendrick, and like, could agencies learn from Kendrick? I think they could learn how quickly to adapt to a growing.
Yeah, be quick.
The name of the game, sprints. That's what it is.
Sprints. And I got this out. I had this conversation recently. If you had to lose like 1 sense, which would you pick?
I'd probably pick smell.
I agree.
Is that that counts?
Yeah, that's a sense.
I think, I
don't need it's the world smells bad sometimes.
When you live in New York, most
Chicago can smell bad too.
I
totally agree.
small town, like it probably smells good or whatever with the grass and all that, but
not
here,
restaurants. Yeah. Smell good sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my little side question.
We could ask that to our guests too. If you had to pick a sense,
Yeah, we start off with that. It's a running thing that we're going to do. Cool. Who's our next guest? Who do you want on?
I think that's a secret.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Nice job, Brian. Fun stuff.
And always fun.